I didn't know who directed this, and I was like waiting for the credits. I was like,
It better not
this
be
better
some
not be.
white guy.
Yeah.
Deep down, I knew it was some fucking Boyle ass.
1, 2, 3, 4.
These boys only want the best of. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that pops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.
Yum, yum.
Oscar Wieners.
Welcome to Oscar Wieners.
Bing bong.
The only show on the internet where Hollywood's biggest knight wants to be a cajillionaire.
That's not the name of the show, and you know it.
I'm your host.
Oh, I didn't think of a name.
I didn't think of a name either. Boyle, spelled Boil.
Nice. And I'm your co-host, Coyle, spelled Coaioile.
Figure that one out. Yeah. A lot of silent vowels in there.
No, I'm Michael. He's Ander. And this is a podcast where every week we pick a Best Picture winner at random and try to figure out if it's Best Picture worthy. And this week, of course, we had to talk about
Have to.
the 2009 Best Picture winner, Slumdog Millionaire. Dev Patel plays a character named Jamal Malik, who is a poor kid growing up in, this is from Wikipedia, so in the
Go ahead.
Juhu slum of Mumbai in India. And he has a brother. Let's just like kind of get the characters, the main characters. He has a
Sure.
brother.
It's a main trio.
Yeah, it's mostly a trio. So Jamal's brother Salim, played by Madhur. I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. Madhur Mittal plays Salim, the adult Salim. Eventually, there's Latika, who the oldest actress who plays her is Frida Pinto.
She's sort of the love interest of Jamal.
So the story is very, it reminded me a lot, and it makes sense because Danny Boyle I believe he's British. He might be Irish. He's a UK guy.
Yeah.
It feels so much like the story feels like so much putting British storytelling tropes, specifically of tropes of Charles Dickens. Like, this movie feels very Oliver Twistian.
I'm so happy you said that, because that was in my mind throughout. It's actually a little bit August Rushian at some points, if you can handle that type of interpretation. You can handle that kind of metaphor, that allegory.
So it's like Oliver Twist. It's very like picaresque. It's sort of these kids. Well, it has a frame device. I actually think the frame device is kind of cool. The first 5 minutes are so like fast paced, and you're like jumping through like different temporalities where you're like, it's like, is this a fucking Nolan movie? What is
this
going on?
Tenet? Yeah.
Because it's like Jamal is like 18. Dev Patel's like 18 when this movie comes out, so he's like maybe like 18, 20. Like, his character's supposed to be the adult version of him. He's participating in this Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game.
It is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
It is Who Wants to Be a
yeah.
Billionaire, yeah. And he's taken, but then, that's happening, and then he's also hijacked / kidnapped by the police. Are like, you're a poor kid from the slums. You can't possibly have known the answers to these questions. You're obviously cheating. So then there's that, and then through their interrogation of him, we're getting flashbacks of him as a kid and the reasons he knows the answers to the questions, right? That's like kind of the structure of the movie.
It really is genius and interesting.
It's like the kind of thing where you're like, that's like such a clever little idea.
Yeah, because it's like his accusers are saying there's no way he could possibly have known the answers to any of the questions that he got right on the game show. But then it goes to, he's answering the question and then it dials back to the time in his life where he actually learned the answer firsthand. So every question he gets right is based on his prior experiences. I think that's such a cool idea. I do think they dropped the ball on it in execution because it's so heavy-handed. It's a little over the top. It gets really cheesy at times. But the framing device, I agree with you, is really cool.
So, Ander, what?
Yeah.
This is your favorite movie. You said this before we started recording.
Yeah, that's right. I said this is my new favorite. I hadn't seen it prior, so I should be honest about that. But this is my new favorite movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. Can I just quickly go through my top 5 favorite movies? Yeah, I'm going to say this, Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
Land Before Time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's 3. Actually, Land Before Time I'll put 2, Jurassic Park at 3.
That's bad, but yeah.
Disney's Dinosaur.
So it's all dinosaur movies.
No, hold on. 5 is either $1 Million Baby or Disney Pixar's The Good Dinosaur. I'm not sure. It depends on my mood.
So no, this isn't your favorite movie, but this is your first time watching it. What was your experience watching it? What were your expectations going in? All that
I really have no idea what this thing was even about. I just kind of knew he becomes rich out of nowhere. That's the only context I had. I didn't even realize this won Best Picture, to be quite honest with you. But I was looking forward to it. I was like, yeah, let's see, because I feel like Slumdog Millionaire at the time it came out there was a lot of commotion about it. And then upon watching it, it really is a time capsule in the sense that it feels very 2009 or 2010, whatever, and just has not aged well, in my opinion. Like, it's aged worse than a lot of movies that came out way, way earlier. Yeah. It looks like it was shot on a Motorola Crazer. It's got really bizarre music choices. Paper Planes by MIA, of course, appears during
we'll like dedicate a whole 10 minutes to that sequence.
Sure, yeah, okay, as we should. It's just, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of child acting. It's not always very tolerable. I'm sure I hope those kids are doing well today, but it wasn't always great to watch. It was grating at times. But it does have a little bit to just keep you going. It's almost Crash-esque in that sense. A very watchable movie that's not very good. I don't think this is as bad as Crash was. But I do think there are a lot of things that miss the mark or were just like very silly when it's trying to be serious. It's very unintentionally funny, this movie.
I do think I like this movie more than you seem to. But I also at the same time basically agree with everything you've said. I remember seeing this, I think probably let's say allegedly I might have maybe, but not actually, watched it illegally online. But I didn't actually get it up though.
No. Of course not.
When it came, like probably 2009 or whatever. And also that time I was like just getting into movies, so I do think like this movie didn't blow. I don't remember this movie blowing my mind or really like sticking with me after I first saw it. But I do think like, Danny Boyle. I don't think he's like one of my favorite directors, obviously, but I do like a bunch of his movies. And I always think like his movies tend to be like kind of interesting, even if they're not like great.
Entertaining.
His movies always have like a ton of energy.
That's all I ask, by the way. Just entertain me. Keep me occupied.
Yeah. And this movie's kind of no exception. I think it has like a ton of energy. You said it looks like it was shot in a Motorola Razr.
Yeah, a little more advanced than a Motorola Razr, but I don't like the way it's framed or shot. I think it's so... I think this was their intent to make it feel really claustrophobic and cramped. But I just can't see shit. I'm just looking around like people's faces are cropped so weird. They have these bizarre slow motion sequences that are all stuttery and like skipping frames. It's like the slow-mo that was the staple of the early 2000s was brought back and made worse. Like, I don't understand some of the visual choices that were made in this.
That is a good point. Like, I don't know. The movie has a lot of energy and like kind of, but what you're talking about, like the aesthetic stuff, like I don't know if it really like matches the content of the movie in a way that like feels like they're of a piece with each other. It just feels like Danny Boyle kind of wanted to do like some weird shit to like boost the energy.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, but how is this like reflecting something about the characters or whatever, you know?
The characters, I think, are very shallow.
Big time shallow.
You know, you really only have 3 to focus on. So you can really take your time and develop them and make their connections feel real. And they don't. They
feel like caricatures.
They do. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Should we get to some of the bones of this thing? Like what actually is going on? They are our 3, I guess let's say heroes, Jamal, Salim, and Latika. They're all kind of like bound together by poverty, by tragedy. They're basically orphans wandering around, just trying to get by, like small children, like maybe 6 they seem. I do find it interesting that each of these events in Jamal's life correspond in order to Indian Regis's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire question.
That's so I didn't even think about that. That's so fucking true.
Like it happens in the order that things happened in his life, which is, I guess, just part of the theme of the movie is like fate and destiny and predetermination. So I guess maybe you could explain away in that sense, but it is
that's so true.
crazy
That's really
coincidence.
Would the movie be better if it was like the questions didn't correspond chronologically and it was like kind of more fragmented?
No, I think that would be confusing.
Yeah.
So I guess like I'll give him a pass for it, but I think it's worth pointing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're 3 orphans wandering around trying to get by. They are quasi-adopted by an Oliver Twist-esque Fagin character who's like, hey, do you want a Coca-Cola and be my sort of like child, like it's exactly like Oliver. It's the exact same setup. He just has a collection of young children to go and beg on the streets and bring back money, which I can't imagine is that profitable, right?
And he looks like he's living large.
Yeah. He's got like nice shirts and clothes and is like presents himself as like a big business guy. He can't be, and he has like a team of guys to like handle the children, like in case anyone gets out of hand. How does he get all this money?
Yeah.
And part of his gambit is he wants them all to sing. And if they don't sing well enough, he like basically disables them. He'll gouge their eyes out or cut off a hand in order to make them more sympathetic characters to beg on the streets, which is an insane concept, really.
Yeah.
I get they're trying to be gritty. I can't imagine that's based in reality at all. I mean, maybe it is, and I'm just being naive, but that seems way out of left field.
Well, that's kind of a larger thing we can get into. Like, listen, I don't know, like, I have no experience. I've never been to India. I don't know anything.
You didn't grow up in the streets of Mumbai, correct?
Believe it or not, I didn't.
Okay, I'm glad we clarified.
I know it's hard to get that from my vibe. But I think the problem with this movie, and we could talk about it more and expand on it as we like go through it. I think this movie is another misrepresentation of not just like India, but just like the East in general, the Eastern world.
Yeah.
by the West.
It's got the classic like yellowed film filter on it.
Well,
That just
yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
like look how exotic this place is, and I agree with you 100%.
And not even exotic. It's like, yeah, over there, it's a hellhole, and people are doing horribly and treat each other horribly. And I'm like, yeah, obviously, all places like have bad stuff going on,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just like it feels so exploitative.
It does. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so like this Fagin-esque figure, he's like doing actual horrible stuff, as opposed to Fagin, who's a jolly, nice old man who gives them
Yeah.
sausages.
Moldy
And-
sausages, but still.
Yeah. And so the kids, so Salim becomes like this guy.
It's like
takes,
his enforcer, I guess.
yeah, he takes like a liking to him. He sees that he can become like a really powerful guy when he like actually becomes an adult. So, but then Salim finds,
He's his Bill Sykes.
that's honestly that actually is true.
Yeah. Well, I guess no. He's more like the Jolly Dot. What's his
Artful
name?
Dodger?
The Artful Dodger. Yeah, that's more like accurate to say.
So
He
Salim
gets yeah.
finds out that Jamal is like what you were saying is going to have like his eyes burned and like he's going to be blinded.
Meanwhile, Jamal and Latika are like, I hope he picks me for being a good singer. Like, I can't wait. Like, we're gonna be stars. We're gonna be famous. And meanwhile, he's like, it cuts to him in the back, like gouging some other kid's eyes out. It's like a hot spoon. It's insane.
Yeah, so Salim hears about this. He's like, this guy is like, all right, go get your brother. I gotta do this to him. Sorry.
Yeah, if he's not a
Salim's
good
like-
singer.
Salim's like, okay, I'll go get him. Then he brings him. He's like, he ends up saving his brother. Salim, Jamal, and Latika end up running away. Jamal and Salim get on the train, but then Salim lets Latika fall behind and get captured
Yeah,
by this guy.
yeah. And then they just go and live a train life for a while.
Yeah, and that's where the paper planes sequence happens.
Yeah, they're just
Can I say the dialogue that like leads into it? Because it rules.
yeah. Go ahead.
I think like Jamal, they're both on top of the train, these little boys. Salim says, let's go. Jamal says, where? And Salim says, I'm starving. And then the music kicks in, and I'm like, that is so fucking cool.
Really?
Yeah.
I was laughing my ass out. I was like, no fucking way they got paper planes. And then they have a remix version, like a Bollywood remix version of it that does it. Listen, the song slaps, but it's just so silly.
Yeah.
But then they end up in where do they end up? They end up in basically like around the Taj Mahal. I don't know like the specific area that is, but a heavy tourist area. And then their next gambit becomes taking money from tourists.
Kind of funny.
Which is a funny that is a funny scene because he's just wandering around like just guiding, European tourists like through the Taj Mahal, being like, yeah, it was founded in 1728 and this is where the queen lives, and then she's eventually gonna become like a spaceship, and it's gonna take off into space, and they're all like, yeah, okay.
Then like all these like white tourists are like, that's not in the pamphlet. He's like, don't look at the fucking pamphlet.
It's like he's like, those people are idiots who made that pamphlet.
The Taj Mahal sequence is like the only, and it's like 5 minutes of the movie. It's like the only part of the movie that like feels like it has anything to say, or feels like it's actually commenting on Western perceptions of the East. Because it's like these people who like come here and don't know anything about the place and are just sort of like just blissfully unaware. Like
It's almost as if Danny Boyle was actually equipped to talk about something like that.
yeah. And like here's the thing. I think Danny Boyle, of the movies of his I've seen, I do think he is, this is not me defending him making this movie. I think he's an empathetic guy. I think
Yeah.
he comes at his material trying to I genuinely think he was trying to make a movie about India and Indian characters. And I think my guess is he didn't put more Western stuff in the movie, like, like characters or whatever, because he was like, I want this to be about India and Indian characters interacting with other Indian characters. But again, it's like, it just feels like he's not it's also, I think it's written by a white guy, like,
Yeah.
I think he's adapting an Indian book, but like the book is slightly different. Like it's not like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type show. And it just feels, it's like they don't really know what to say, because I think people can make movies that aren't about their experience, or tell stories that aren't about their experience, and tell them authentically. I just don't. This is kind of almost an argument why maybe people shouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe that 100%, but I just like it often comes out looking like this, and it's sort of like, okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. There were certainly good intentions here, just the product is, I don't think, what he actually intended.
But they do get that money.
And then they say, actually, we have to go back and save Latika from Indian Fagin.
So
This is the one point in the movie where I agree with Salim, Jamal's brother. Because Salim is like, we're going back? Why? And Jamal is like, because we have to go back. Like, we need to save... I don't know. Like, I'm not quite sure I understand their connection. It seems like it's just there to be some sort of love interest.
basically Jamal's whole thing is he's in love with Latika and wants to just save her anytime she's in trouble. That's basically his whole thing.
Yeah, he's boilerplate hero guy.
Yeah. Salim, I feel like, is maybe the most complex of the three, just because like he wants power, and he even wants power over Jamal and Latika, but also he also like is complex enough to like realize that he's being bad and like kind of like help his brother or Latika out. Like,
yeah, he still,
but again,
shows compassion towards his brother.
Yeah, it's still pretty like surface level though. Then Latika, she's like the biggest punching bag I've seen in a movie we've watched for this show.
Yeah.
Since like Jenny in Forrest Gump.
Oh, Jenny gets it bad though.
Jenny has maybe more characterization, which is
for sure.
But Latika,
Jenny feels like a developed character, at least more than Latika does.
Yeah, but like Jenny, Latika is basically an object of affection for the hero boy. She's also like, I don't know why, I get like this movie's trying to be like, okay, let's explore the fucking hardships and like the bottom rung of Indian society. But the filmmakers just like treat Latika across her whole life like shit. She gets like sexually abused constantly.
Yeah.
She's like just physically abused. Like, and it never registers in her character at all, which I feel like is even more disrespectful. It's like they're not willing to track the psychology of what that would do to somebody over the course of her life. Because like,
no, it's never addressed or.
No. By the end, she's just like, Jamal's like, come on, I gotta save you. And she's like, Jamal, this can't happen. Like, I'm now with this like huge crime lord in India, or like I can't. He'll kill you if you try and take me away. But like, she's not like, no, dude, your love is not gonna save me. Like, I'm fucking like horribly traumatized.
No, they would never. They would never come to that conclusion. It's not sophisticated enough. It just, Danny Boyle clearly wanted to make like hero guy saves girl and then wins in the end. Like a very westernized, but not very fleshed out westernized style movie.
Yeah. And like Frida Pinto is like, I guess, perfectly fine. She doesn't get a lot to do at all, except just like kind of, I mean, she's a beautiful person. That's like kind of what she's asked to do. Just be beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Listen, I get asked to do that a lot, and I gotta say no. I can't be beautiful.
People always stop you on the street like, can I give you $5 million to just stand there and be beautiful?
And I have to say no. I can't accept that. It's just I'm more than that. There's more to me.
I just hope Fruto Pinto got paid. That's all I hope for.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope I hope they all got paid. If they didn't get paid, that's a lawsuit, in fact. Yeah, just a bunch of little vignettes going on. They do go back to save Latika, and then all the while, like, it's just cutting back and forth to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Indian Regis is like, hey, like, stay with me, dude. What you've like blacked out for a second because he's just having
a
these
flashback about this question.
It's like you've been taking 7.5 minutes to answer this question. Like, we're out of time.
I also think it's kind of silly, like you talked about, like the questions being in chronological order. I also think it's kind of, again, I like the basic premise of the movie. Like, I think it's kind of clever. I think it's kind of fun. But just like the idea of like, you're telling me basically every question has to do with something from his specific life.
Well, I think that is yes, it's outlandish, but I do think that ties into the core theme of the movie where it's like, you know, in the very beginning, it showed like there's this theme of it is written. Like, it's almost like this is like kind of destiny. It's predetermined. I give it a pass just because the movie is playing with those themes.
That's true.
And basically, Jamal's whole argument to the police officer who's interrogating him is like, yeah, I know this sounds crazy, but it's just literally what happened. It was my life. Like, I don't know what to say. It just felt like it was meant to be, like I was meant to win the, what is it, 2 million?
I think it's like
rupees?
20 million rupees.
20 million rupees. So then, like, it's just like the whole ending is like going back and forth between he just really wants to save Latika and like have a life together, and he has a job at the call center, and all this stuff happens. He's basically trying to get her to run away with him, and she's like, what are we gonna live off of? And he goes, love. And I'm like, oh my god, kill me dead, dude. Just really cheesy stuff. And in the end, Indian Regis tries to help him. Weirdly, there's a scene where they're in the bathroom and he's like giving him the answer to the question. Like, he writes it in the
But he gives him the wrong answer.
Yeah, so what the fuck? He's a dick.
I get the impression it's like, because I think the guy who plays him is like a very famous Indian actor. He is Anil Kapoor, plays Prem Kumar, the host of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show. I get the sense because he says to Jamal at one point, like, I'm like you, like I also like came from nothing and now I'm like wildly rich and successful. I get the sense that like he kind of resents Jamal for like daring to do the same thing. It's like he's almost gotten so insulated by like his like new adult status as like rich and famous that he's like, oh fuck, like anybody else who tries to do that.
Yeah, we're closing the door behind me. I'm getting in, and then that's it.
Which is like kind of interesting, but like it's not really explored. It's just sort of like it's like something that's in the air of the movie.
Yeah, it's just you can smell it, just so you get a whiff of it, and you're like, what is that? What's going on?
I feel like that kind of smells like class commentary. I don't really know though.
Just yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then I don't know, Jamal fucking wins, and Salim works for the boss that Latika is like the wife of.
Yeah, this like, huge mob boss.
Yeah. And Salim like is he sees that Jamal and Latika are like still in love or whatever, because like Jamal has like the phone a friend, 50-50, like all those lifelines that are on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. For people who might be too young to remember, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a show where you went on and answered questions to become a millionaire.
Really late in the episode to me explaining Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
It was hosted in America by somebody named Regis. Bear with me.
Shout out. Yeah.
Philbin.
Wow.
That's the guy's name.
Yes, it is. R.I.P.
So yeah, like Jamal's last lifeline, he calls Latika. He thinks he's calling his. It's so complicated. He thinks he's calling his brother, but Latika pissed up.
And he's calling about the question of who's the third musketeer, which is like an incredibly like important and relevant question in his life. Like when he was a kid, they show all this stuff where he's like, oh, they gave him the Three Musketeers to read. And he refers to him, his brother, and Latika as like, oh, we're like the Three Musketeers. And then the question is, who's the third musketeer? And he's like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
It really is his vibe. He kind of laughs. He's like, I'm just going to kind of say A, I guess.
And he gets it right. Well, he fucking calls his brother. He's like, come on, please pick up. And
His
Regis
brother's
is
too busy
like,
being in a shootout.
Regis is trolling him the whole time, like, oh, guess he's a little busy to answer your 20 million rupee question. And the whole audience laughs. And then Latika picks up somehow because she has his phone for some reason. And he's like, do you know the answer to this? And she's like, no. And then he just guesses and gets it right.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just kind of an insane sequence.
it is an insane sequence. Salim dies.
In a bathtub full of money while the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire theme blares in the background.
It's so weird. Why does he fill the bathtub with money? I don't understand.
I don't know.
It feels like it feels like a symbol that means something to the character, but like the audience is never clued in onto what that symbol means for him.
I guess he was just like, I want... It's like a little in-joke between the director and himself.
I want to die in a
I guess he
bath
just
full of
wanted to
cash.
die surrounded by money. I guess that's it. I think that's really it. He's just like liked money and like, this is how I want to go out.
Then he's shot and killed.
It's so funny.
And that's then Jamal goes to the train station again, where he told Latika like earlier in the movie, like, meet me there. She tries to meet him there. Then like the crime boss that she's forcibly married to sends Salim and some other guys to get her. Whatever, they take her away. But this time Latika is there. They fucking kiss. They say they love each other. Then they dance a little.
Oh boy, do they. Maybe the best scene in the whole movie.
You know, the thing is, though, like, I get what he's doing. Like, I think he's riffing on, like, Bollywood movies. But even Danny Boyle doing the dance sequence, I'm like, this is, like, poorly choreographed and kind of badly filmed.
Really? See, I like the dance
You could
sequence.
fuck this up.
I think the song bangs. I think that helps.
Yeah, the song does bang, but he didn't have no part in that.
I'm saying it did add value.
All right.
It was a fun little, just a closing sequence number.
I disagree, but I respect your opinion, and that's why you are 50% of what makes the Oscar Wieners the Oscar Wieners.
That is true.
You know what I've been thinking about a lot? And this movie, I think, is a good time to talk about it.
Land Before
In the
Time.
Nomad Land episode,
Okay.
you read that review that was basically like, this movie is using poor people just to like, so everybody can kind of like feel like, oh wow, this movie is really talking about the moment, and this movie is really talking about like a certain group of people.
Yeah,
and
in
isn't
an
this- isn't-
exploitative manner.
Yeah, and like, isn't this progress? Like, and I kind of pushed back against that. And the more I've thought about it, I actually think I do agree with that reviewer. Not about I think Nomadland is a great movie, and I'm not going back on my feelings about that movie. But it does make me think, like, when the Oscars award a movie like this, just like all of our other fucking institutions that are, you know, racist, sexist, all the ists, all the phobics, they're everything. They suck. All of them are bad. All of them are fucking rotted to the core. But they do these things like, we're giving the award to Slumdog Millionaire because that's progress. And it just makes me wonder, like, why. Like, I think we have to be conscious of that and be alert to when all these fucking systems, even Hollywood's a bankrupt system, horrible things happen there constantly. It's not an equitable place, even though they think they are. like we have to be alert to like when they are trying to get us to believe that progress is happening when like actually they're still going to just make the same bullshit that they're always going to make and oppress the same people that they've always oppressed. And like, I don't know.
Right in saying like the Academy has always thought of themselves as this bastion of progress, and they're really just not. It's just it goes back to what we've always said. It's just a cabal of old fuckers, and we're the people who at the end of the day give them power. So just we can't give them that much power.
True.
Ironically, we're lending them credence by even just doing this because we're saying
So true. We are the part of the problem.
we're part of 100%. But like, because we're saying like these 96 movies are supposed to be some of the cultural touchstones of our cinematic experience. So hence we're talking about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's it's good to stay reminded of. Let's not lend so much weight to what these people think is relevant to society. I mean, movies in general are subjective. Like, it's so hard to pick one piece of art that speaks for the whole of society. In fact, it's impossible. You can really only say what appeals to you, which I do think we've done on this show. Like, we've talked about like what speaks to us and what resonates with us. Because that's really, at the end of the day, that's all we can speak to.
Like, the more I think about Hollywood, the more I'm like, they're all like these fucking rich liberals who think like, that. I mean, obviously some of them probably, whatever, they're probably not all the liberals, but like so many of them are like rich liberals. And it's like being rich, like immediately precludes you from being able to have anything to say about the goings on of regular fucking people. These systems gatekeep, and it's like, and then they let in certain movies and be like, wow, what progress? And it's like, you know what would have been progress if you let like an independent Indian filmmaker, like you said, tell just a story that is about their experience. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I think maybe the only authentic, real art that exists across all the fucking spectrums, whether it's movies, music, books, fucking pottery, fucking knitting, dude, is people who do it independently. And a movie you can make now, you can make it on your fucking iPhone. It doesn't matter if it looks like shit. At least it's fucking your goddamn movie.
Make it on a Motorola
Don't try and
Razr.
work towards their bullshit. They can go eat my whole cornhole, dude. Shoot your shit on your phone with some friends and put that shit out there, and it's yours.
We've touched on a lot here.
Also, join a start a labor union. Fuck all of this shit, dude. I am so tired of it. Trump's president again. I'm so fucking tired.
This should be a separate episode in and of itself. Because if you want to get down to it, it all goes back to the systems we have in place. It's all capitalist bullshit where it's like in order to make a movie, you need to have money, and in order to have money, you have to be bankable, you have to have an audience, you have to have a market. And who decides the market? It's big budget production firms and execs. But look, then stop watching those movies, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, why the Batman with Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, it's good. It's fun to see. I like to go see Iron Man 5 when it comes out. So where do we end up? Because at the end of the day, yeah, I want to see spectacle. If someone's gonna spend a lot of money on a movie, I want it to blow my freaking tiny little noggin.
Yeah, I don't really know what the solution is because I'm also like you. Like I love fucking. You said Jurassic Park was one of your favorite movies. I love Jurassic Park. It kicks ass.
Yeah, it does. It's a big budget Hollywood production.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think as long as people are making movies with their heart, which maybe Danny Boyle is doing, it's just that he should have more. He should have more insight as to like what his perspective, where his perspective lies.
Yeah, like more self-awareness, more people around him who are like, "Hey, Danny, that's actually not
Yeah.
right."
So look, I guess in summation, we're gonna be we exist here to call the Academy on their bullshit sometimes, or all the time if need be.
We're taking on that burden for your asses.
That's right. And what do you pay us? Nothing.
We don't have ads on this shit. Why? Because we care about the people.
Immediate fucking like tushy ad right here. Yeah, Squarespace.
Do you want to start a website?
Yeah, we don't get paid because we don't have a market, but rest assured, if somebody wanted to pay us, we would happily accept.
Listen, get that bag while you fucking can. This life is short. This life is hard.
Nothing that you do, there's nowhere you can tread that isn't over the corpse of some fucking dead horse.
Yeah, no ethical consumption under capitalism. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to ethically consume under capitalism.
Okay. All right. It's a nice little.
As much as you can. Again, it's hard. It's basically impossible. But
It's basically impossible, yeah.
anyway, I think I think this movie's all right.
Yeah, this movie, I think it's a little less than all right.
Would you like to hear the other nominees?
Yeah. Who else did the Academy think was somewhat worthy of being nominated?
So first up, obviously Slumdog wins. This is actually the Dark Knight year. This is the year that changes the Oscars to come.
This is big. This is monumental.
Yeah.
This is the turning point.
You know, this is the year that like Heath Ledger won posthumous Best Supporting Actor win.
Yeah.
I think Dark Knight got a bunch of technical awards, but it did not get the Best Picture nominee. What did?
Oh, it didn't get nominated.
Did not get nominated. That's why people
that's
changed,
twisted.
because they were like, that should have been nominated.
As the Joker would say, that's twisted.
Yeah. As the Joker would say, this town deserves a better class of criminal.
Nice.
I'm gonna give it to him. In 2009, I was so close to filming a Joker impersonation and putting it on YouTube. And I'm glad that I didn't.
Oh, I really wish you had.
I remember
Maybe
watching
2025 is your year.
Yeah, maybe.
You should do, you know what would be a fun tradition if you posted a Joker impression, like one every year. That's like a little time capsule. It's just like you in a mirror doing like a why so serious. I think that would be really fun. Like when you're 50 years old, you just look back and say, here's me when I was 28. Just
I'm like
in the
85.
mirror.
My father was a drinker.
The lip, like the face paint, like just lipstick.
First up is Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Oh, just an iconic landmark piece.
Directed by David Fincher. A movie I actually watched in the last like maybe year or so, and I think is actually quite good.
Okay, I've never seen it.
Born Under
Very
a
notorious for its concept.
Yeah, I think it's based on F. Scott Fitzgerald's short story. Born under unusual circumstances, Benjamin Button springs into being as an elderly man in a New Orleans nursing home and ages in reverse. 12 years after his birth, he meets Daisy, the child who flits in and out of his life as she grows up to be a dancer and turns into Cate Blanchett.
No way.
Though he has all sorts of unusual adventures over the course of his life, it is his relationship with Daisy and the hope that they will come together at the right time that drives Benji forward.
But at what point does their relationship become inappropriate? I guess like...
Well, he's like
When he
75
turns
and
17?
she's
Okay.
12. You know what I mean?
Wait. Wait.
Because he's an old
Wait,
man.
why is she 12? I thought they met when she was like 40.
No. They meet when they're kids. And they know, and they just like kind of pop in
okay.
and out of each other's lives. But then when, in middle age, they like reconnect and are like, all right, let's finally have a little sex.
All right. What are you getting?
This is a very clean
I've done
premise,
back all
James.
this. We have to move on because we can't unpack this all. It's got to be something else.
I guess we're doing a bonus Benjamin Button episode.
It just blows my mind. We have to move on.
Yeah. Next up, It's Frost Nixon, dude.
Boring.
What?
I don't know. Maybe it's cool. I've never seen it.
For 3 years after being forced from office, Nixon remained silent. But in summer 1977, the steely, cunning former commander-in-chief agreed to sit for one all-exclusive interview to confront the questions of his time in office and the Watergate scandal that ended his presidency. Nixon surprised everyone in selecting Frost as his televised confessor, intending to easily outfox the breezy British showman and secure a place in the hearts and minds of Americans. Likewise, Frost's team harbored doubts from their boss's ability to hold his own, but as the cameras rolled, a charged battle of wits resulted. I don't know. Probably boring.
Moving on.
We have Gus Van Sant's film. Milk. Ever had
Love it. I've had all the time with some cereal.
It's the true story of Harvey Milk, the first openly gay man ever elected to public office. In San Francisco in the late 70s, Harvey Milk becomes an activist for gay rights and inspires others to join him in his fight for equal rights that should be available to all Americans. I hear this movie is great, and I've been meaning to see it. Finally, we have... who directed this? This is Stephen Daldry's The Reader.
I've never heard of this.
This is based on a bestseller, I think from like the late 90s, that I've actually
book?
read.
Okay. Is it based on a book called The Reader?
Yes. In college, I took a Holocaust literature class, and this was one of the books that we read. And I think the book is pretty good. I hear the movie is quite bad.
Oh.
The story of Michael Berg, a German lawyer who, as a teenager in the late 50s, had an affair with an older woman, Hannah, who then disappeared only to resurface years later as one of the defendants in a war crimes trial stemming from her actions as a concentration camp guard late in the war. He alone realizes that Hannah is illiterate and may be concealing that fact at the expense of her freedom.
What?
Yeah, I don't
So she can't read, but she doesn't want to say because she's embarrassed, even though it will get her off?
Yeah, I guess so.
You read the book.
I kind of forget. It was a couple years. It was during the pandemic. There was a lot of shit going on.
All right.
Did you remember the pandemic?
I do. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember what happened. Yeah. I also remember some things that I consumed media-wise. Not all.
All that shit.
Okay. All right.
Except The Mandalorian, which I do remember every inch of. Yes, those are the nominees. Do you think
Right on.
Slumdog Millionaire is Best Picture worthy?
No.
Got it.
I'm gonna give it a whack.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think I agree.
I would just fatly give it to The Dark Knight.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah. One of my favorite films, not to sound like a fucking incel on the internet. But that movie was so important to me as a 13-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, as someone who's trying to emulate the Joker, that's become my personality in adulthood, I think it's a formative piece. I did recently get a ha 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 tattoo on my forearm, and it's kind of defining who I am.
I like approaching women in bars and saying, "This town deserves a better class. So, boy, to kiss on the mouth. Will you?" And then when they say no, I go on the internet and complain about it.
Like a true anti-hero.
No, I don't think this movie is Best Picture worthy. I don't hate this movie. I think it's fine.
I just think it's a little less than good. It doesn't feel cinematic or Oscar-worthy, so to speak. It feels... Maybe we should stop. Maybe we should even stop saying that now because of the fucking all this Academy stuff.
Yeah. Did I break this show?
Let's look at the paradigm of the show. Yeah, we might have to rethink some things.
All right.
But it just feels like a TV movie. It doesn't feel very cinematic.
Any reviews?
We've got them. I just figured we covered a lot of the stuff that's touched on in the reviews. I think we got to it. We got to the meat of it. We got to the bones of it. A lot of love for Dev Patel out there. Some mixed feelings about the movie as a whole.
So, thanks for no reviews. Saves us some time.
Excuse. Unbelievable. It's fucking.
What was that?
No, it's fine.
Next week, we're talking about The Last Emperor.
New Groove?
The Last Emperor's New Groove, directed by
Nice.
Bernardo Bertolucci. It's a 2 hour and 45-minute movie, so buckle in.
Cool.
It's on Max. So
Nice.
until next time, fly like hot dogs.
Oh.
Get high like mustard.
No, go ahead.
Catch me on the move?
Yeah.
I'm eating that relish.
Oh, yeah.
Because all I want to do is... That's ketchup coming out of the bottle.
It's disgusting. Good impression.
Don't ching. That's you paying for your hot dog.
Right.
And take your doggy. All I
Oh.
want to do is...
And a ching and take your doggy.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry for that. See you next week, Wieners.
1, 2, 3, 4.
These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that bops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.